The morning of my graduation felt wrong before I even opened my eyes. It was too quiet, not the peaceful kind of quiet, the kind that makes your stomach drop because you know something is missing. I lay there for a second, staring at the ceiling of my childhood bedroom, telling myself I was just nervous. That was it, just nerves. I was 31 years old and I had just finished my PhD in biomedical engineering. 7 years of research, 4 published papers, 1 near breakdown in a university bathroom at 2 in the morning, and a dissertation that my advisor called the most thorough work this department has seen in a decade. The ceremony was at 11. My family was supposed to be downstairs. I heard nothing. I got up slowly. I'd laid out my outfit the night before, a navy dress, low heels, the small pearl earrings my grandmother left me before she passed. I put them on and went to the top of the stairs and listened. Nothing, no coffee brewing, no TV, no voices. I went down and found the kitchen exactly as I'd left it the night before, clean counters, empty mugs. The fruit bowl untouched. On the kitchen table was a folded piece of paper with my name on it, written in my mother's handwriting. I stood there for a moment before I picked it up. We didn't want to make a scene. Your brother's showcase is today and we couldn't miss it. You know how important this is for him. You're smart, you'll be fine on your own. We're proud of you. That was it. No phone number to call, no apology. No, we'll celebrate later. Just 5 sentences and the word proud, which felt like the cruelest part, because if they were proud, they were in the car driving 4 hours to watch my younger brother perform a 20-minute set at a regional music festival he entered on a whim 2 months ago. I read the note twice, then I folded it and put it in my pocket. I want to be honest about what I felt in that moment, because it wasn't what you might expect. It wasn't devastation, it wasn't even surprise, really. It was something quieter and sadder than that, the feeling you get when you've been holding a door open for a long time and you finally let go. That soft click of something closing. My name is Aubrey. I'm the eldest of 2. My brother Jonah is 26, 3 years younger than me, and he is the sun that my family orbits. He's charming and loud and funny, and growing up he was the one who made our parents laugh at dinner, who got them out of their chairs, who filled a room. I was the one who studied. I was the one who cleaned up quietly and went back to my books. I was the one who got good grades and received a nod instead of applause. I don't say any of this to make my brother sound like a bad person. He isn't. Jonah is genuinely lovable and I do love him. But somewhere along the way my family made a decision, maybe without even realizing it, that his needs were urgent and mine were manageable. His dreams required showing up. Mine would be fine on their own. I had gotten used to it. I told myself I had anyway. When I was 22 and got into one of the top biomedical PhD programs in the country, my mother's first response was, "Does that mean you'll be in school even longer?" When I published my first paper, my father said, "That's great, honey," and then asked if I'd watched the game. When I defended my dissertation and called home from outside the conference room, shaking with relief and exhausted joy, my mother said, "Oh good, we're at Jonah's recital, can I call you back?" She never called back. I had learned to stop waiting for it. So standing in that kitchen on the morning of my graduation, reading a note that told me my brother's hobby was more important than my doctorate, I didn't fall apart. I just stood there for a moment, and then I went to the counter and made myself a cup of coffee, and I drank it slowly while looking out the window at the backyard. Then I picked up my phone and called the one person I knew would answer. "Tell me you're already in the car," Soren said. I laughed, which surprised me. "I'm just leaving," I said. "Can you and Felicity meet me there early?" "We've been ready since 8, he said. "We've literally been sitting in the parking lot." Felicity brought a banner. I laughed again, and this time it didn't surprise me. Soren is my boyfriend. We've been together for 4 years. He's a structural engineer, quiet and steady, and the kind of person who shows up early to things and brings more than he was asked to. Felicity is his younger sister, who adopted me as a friend about 6 months into our relationship and hasn't let go since. Those two, along with my best friend from graduate school, Ria, and my advisor, Dr. Pemberton, were the people sitting in the audience when I walked across that stage. 5 people. That was my cheering section. It was enough. More than enough, actually. When I walked across that stage and Dr. Pemberton shook my hand and the dean said my name and my concentration into the microphone, Dr. Aubrey Callahan, biomedical engineering, I heard Felicity's voice cut through the auditorium like a foghorn, screaming my name, and I laughed out loud right there on the stage. I couldn't help it. The dean looked startled. I didn't care. Afterward, we went to lunch at a restaurant downtown that Soren had booked weeks ago. A real reservation, not a casual suggestion. White tablecloths, good wine, a private room in the back because Felicity had called ahead and explained the occasion. There were flowers on the table when I walked in. Ria had brought a card signed by everyone in the lab. Dr. Pemberton gave a small speech that made me cry. I sat at that table for 3 hours and felt genuinely happy. My phone buzzed twice during lunch. I glanced at it once. Both messages were from my mother. I turned the phone face down and didn't look at it again until I got home. That evening, back at Soren's apartment, I finally read the messages. The first one said, "How did it go? Did you get the diploma?" The second one said, "Jonah did so well today, they loved him. He might actually have a real shot at this music thing. Anyway, call us when you can." I sat with those messages for a long time. Then I put my phone down and I told Soren what they said. He didn't say anything at first. He just reached over and held my hand. "What do you want to do?" he asked. "I don't know yet," I said. That was honest. I genuinely didn't know. For most of my life, I had managed my family by keeping my expectations low and my distance comfortable. I called on Sundays, I visited at Christmas, I smiled and deflected and changed the subject when things got tense. It had cost me something. I could feel that cost accumulating over the years like interest on a debt, but I had told myself it was the price of keeping the peace. What I hadn't counted on was reaching a point where I didn't want to keep paying. 2 days after graduation, my mother called. I answered. She asked about the ceremony and I told her it went well. She said she was sorry they missed it, and the sorry was so reflexive, so clearly not actually sorry, that I felt something sharp move through me. "It was fine," I said. "There were people there." Good, she said. And then without pausing, "So Jonah got a call back from one of the festival organizers. They want to talk to him about a summer residency. Isn't that exciting?" I said yes. I said it was exciting. I got off the phone. I sat in my car in a parking garage for 20 minutes afterward. Not crying, just sitting. Over the next few weeks, I started saying no to things. It wasn't dramatic or declared. I didn't write anyone a letter or send a message that I'd spent hours composing. I just quietly started protecting my time. My mother called on a Wednesday asking if I could drive 4 hours that weekend to help set up Jonah's new apartment. I said I had plans. My father texted asking if I could lend Jonah some money to cover his security deposit, because you're doing so well now. I said I wasn't in a position to do that right now, and I hoped they found another solution, small things, quiet things. But each one felt like I was slowly straightening up after years of being slightly hunched. Soren noticed. He didn't push, but one evening he said, "You seem lighter." "I think I might be," I said. The thing I hadn't told anyone, not even Soren yet, was what had happened 6 weeks before graduation. I had been in my final months of lab work, running on coffee and willpower, when I received an email from a biotech company based in Boston. They had read 2 of my published papers. They wanted to talk. I almost didn't respond. I was so deep in the dissertation that anything beyond it felt abstract. But I did respond, and they set up a call, and on that call they offered me a research director position, with a starting salary I had to read twice to believe. Full benefits, research budget, a small team of my own, and a relocation package that covered everything. I accepted 2 weeks before graduation. I hadn't told my family because I didn't know how to explain that this opportunity, this life, had arrived not because of luck or nepotism or someone doing me a favor, but because I had spent 7 years working in a field I loved, doing research that mattered, refusing to stop even when it was hard. I didn't know how to say that without it sounding like an accusation. And I didn't want to turn my own accomplishment into another moment of managing their feelings. So I didn't tell them. I went through graduation and the quiet aftermath and the small, steady steps of protecting my peace, and I held this thing close to my chest and let it be mine for a little while. The move happened in July. I rented a truck, and Son took a week off work, and Ria came for the first 2 days to help pack. We drove to Boston on a Sunday, and I cried a little outside my old apartment, and then I got in the car and we drove northeast, and I watched the city get smaller in the side mirror, and I felt something that took me a moment to name. Relief. I was in Boston for about 3 weeks before my mother called asking why she hadn't heard from me. I told her I had moved. There was a pause. "Moved where?" "Boston," I said. "For a job?" "What job? Since when?" I explained the position as simply as I could. Research director, biotech company. I started in August. Another pause, longer this time. "Why didn't you tell us?" "I'm telling you now, Aubrey." Her voice had changed. "This is a big deal. Why would you keep this from us?" I thought about how to answer that. I thought about the kitchen table and the folded note. I thought about the two text messages after graduation, the one that mentioned my diploma and the one that mentioned Jonah's callback, in that order. I thought about 7 years of phone calls I made that weren't returned and Sunday dinners where I sat quietly while my brother's plans were discussed with energy and investment and love. I didn't keep it from you, I said. I just handled it myself. My mother didn't say a thing for a moment. Then she said, "Your father is going to want to know about this." "You can tell him," I said. "I have to go." I got off the phone. I went to the window of my new apartment and looked out the street below, a neighborhood I was still learning, unfamiliar and clean and entirely mine, and I breathed slowly. My brother called the next day. This was unusual. Jonah and I didn't talk often, not because we'd had any falling out, but because our lives had drifted into parallel lanes that rarely intersected. He opened with a joke, which was always how Jonah opened things, and I laughed because it was a good joke and because I wasn't angry at him, not really. "Mom told me about the job," he said. "Research director, that's legitimately impressive, Aubrey. Thank you," I said. "She also told me you didn't tell them about it until after you moved." "That's right." A pause. "Are you okay?" It was such a simple question, and he asked it with such genuine concern that I felt my throat tighten for a second. "I'm okay," I said. "I'm actually pretty good." "Good," he said. And then, "For what it's worth, I know they don't always show up the way they should for you." I didn't say anything. "I see it," he said. "I've always seen it. I just didn't know what to do about it." I looked out the window again. A couple was walking a dog on the sidewalk below. The dog kept stopping to investigate everything, and the couple kept laughing about it. "You don't have to do anything," I said. "I'm handling it." We talked for another 20 minutes about nothing in particular. His music, my new neighborhood, a movie we'd both seen years ago that came up randomly. When we hung up, I realized it had been the most honest conversation we'd had since we were teenagers. I held on to that. The months that followed were full. My job was everything I'd hoped and more. My team was sharp and collaborative, the kind of people who stayed late because they wanted to, not because they were afraid to leave. I found a running route along the Charles River that I did 3 mornings a week, and a coffee shop 2 blocks from my apartment where the barista remembered my order by the 3rd visit. Soren flew up on weekends. We started talking quietly and carefully about the future. I talked to my parents maybe once a month, politely, briefly. I wasn't cold. I wasn't trying to punish anyone, but I had stopped pretending that the relationship was something it wasn't. I stopped performing enthusiasm I didn't feel. I stopped filling silences with reassurances I didn't mean. I just showed up as I actually was, nothing more. My mother noticed the change. She called it distance. She asked once if I was angry about graduation, and I said no, I wasn't angry. I had just reorganized some things. "Reorganized," she repeated like it was a word in a foreign language. "I'm doing really well," I said. "I hope you are too." The call ended shortly after. In November, 4 months after I moved to Boston, my company held a reception for the launch of a research initiative I had led. It was a significant event. Partners, investors, journalists from 2 industry publications. My photo ran in one of them the following week, with a caption that named my position and the work. One of Soren's relatives, who happened to follow that publication, sent the article to Soren's mother, who forwarded it to the family group chat with a string of congratulations. Soren's mother posted it to her social media. It got shared. My aunt, my mother's sister, who lives in Portland and with whom I've always had a warm if occasional relationship, saw it. She texted me directly, "Aubrey, look at you, we are so proud." "Why didn't your mom say anything about this?" I didn't know what to say, so I just thanked her and said things had been busy. Later that week, my mother called. Her voice was different, tighter, a little careful. "I saw the article," she said. "Okay," I said. "You look professional, thank you." A long pause. "A lot of people are talking about it." I waited. "Your aunt called me," she said, "and 2 of my friends from church. They all saw it. They were asking why I hadn't mentioned it." I still didn't say anything. I had learned over these past months that silence was not the same as cruelty. Sometimes it was just honesty with the volume turned down. "We should have been there," she said finally. At graduation, it wasn't quite an apology, but it was closer than I'd ever heard from her, and I recognized the effort it cost her to say it, so I gave it the weight it deserved. "Yes," I said, "you should have." Another pause. "Are we going to be okay, Aubrey?" I thought about that. I thought about the note on the kitchen table. I thought about the 2 text messages. I thought about 7 years of Sunday dinners and unreturned calls, and the particular loneliness of being celebrated by everyone except the people who were supposed to know you best. And then I thought about that afternoon on the stage, Felicity's voice cutting through the auditorium, Soren's hand on mine at the restaurant, Dr. Pemberton's small speech, the Charles River at 6 in the morning, the team I walked into every day, the life I had built with my own hands in a city I chose for myself. I'm okay, I said. I'm genuinely okay. Whether we're okay, that depends on whether things actually change, not just whether we talk about them changing. My mother was quiet for a long time. That's fair, she said. And it was. That was all it was, fair. Not a resolution, not a reunion, not a Hollywood ending where everyone cries and hugs and the past gets folded up neatly and put away. Just a single honest sentence between two people who had spent a long time not quite saying what they meant. I didn't know what would come next. Maybe things would shift, slowly, the way things sometimes do when people finally start telling the truth. Maybe they wouldn't. Either way, I had already built the life I wanted, piece by piece, in the quiet space where my family's attention wasn't. That wasn't a tragedy. Somewhere along the way, it had become the whole point. I wasn't waiting anymore. I had stopped waiting a long time ago. And that, it turned out, was the best thing I ever did for myself.